Um, and I guess I was interested in the fact that photography is so ubiquitous these days, but drawing isn't. Well, I think when I speak to art students about basically how to make art, which I guess is what you're trying to figure out when you're a student, and when you're when you're an artist, I guess you're always trying to figure out the best way to make art, or the most successful way to make it. And I guess the way that I find is to focus on the process rather than the finished object, and to let the finished artwork just come about in its own way rather than to force it. So whenever I make an exhibition, I always think I have an amount of time and sometimes an amount of material and maybe something that I want to make. But I don't, I just think that once some work is finished or a process is finished, whatever's left of that process becomes the exhibition. Yeah, that's just the way that I've figured out that's the best way to make the work. It's not necessarily a big earth-shattering discovery, but it's just, for me, it's just the easiest way to think about making an artwork. So this work in here is called The Spectre, and I made it about two years ago in Munich, and I made a giant sculpture which before the exhibition, I invited 300 or so people to draw over a course of a week. And the people were invited to draw the piece, but it was forbidden to take a photograph. So I destroyed the work before the exhibition, and it basically never had any photographs taken of it. So the only record of it was these drawings. And I wanted the drawings to have, to be useful, basically. The drawings would be kind of like life drawings. I guess when I was at art school, there weren't any computers. There wasn't any internet or mobile phones. So in that respect, things have changed enormously. One of the things that strikes me when I go back to art school and teach, as I sometimes do, is that the economic motivation for making art has really changed, in that when I was at art school, the kind of simplest way to make an artwork was to make a drawing, which in a way was why I based my practice on drawing. Whereas now, students seem to make video art. That seems to be the easiest thing to make. in the other room, there is a piece which is called Sleep, and it's an animation. It has the same title and the same premise as quite a famous experimental film, excuse me, by Andy Warhol that was made in the 1960s. I think I was interested in the fact the animation sort of suggests that the person who is asleep is having a dream, maybe. So in a way, there is a story unfolding inside the person's head, but you're only given the most remote clues as to what that story might be about. I like it because it looks like art. I think the discussion that you have about work is different in a gallery versus outside. So the context changes the work. You know, the context is half of the work. So the discussion you have is always going to be a different one, and the work has to be different, I suppose, to go outside physically and in terms of what you say about it. I think the nice thing about making work outside is that it's more dangerous in a way, in that there's far more room for misinterpretation, which is both a good and a bad thing. So you never quite know exactly what the work will mean, because you're never in control of the context completely. For example, with this thumbs up piece, this might end up becoming a gesture associated with a political movement, for example, that I really disapprove of. But that's something that you have to accept, and that's sort of part of the excitement of doing it, that we will see. I'm hoping that no right-wing politician will start doing the thumbs up, but I can't be sure of that, so we'll see. In the other room, there is a piece that I made a couple of years ago, which is called, what is it called? The Artist. So this robot thing that I made makes a drawing with two pens stuck up its nose. In a way, it's sort of a very vague allusion to surrealism. So you could perhaps see it as an illustration of the strategy of Henri Michaud, who, as you may know, was an artist's heyday of surrealism, who took LSD and made these really terrible paintings. I like the idea that it's a machine that's making artwork, but I guess it's a fairly simple piece of technology, albeit I had to engage an electronics engineer to make it. But I like the fact that it makes really big, semi-abstract pictures, which I would not really be allowed to make myself, because people would say, why have you done that? And because they'd say it doesn't look like your work. And then I would say, yeah, but look, the robot, he made it. All right, that's okay. You're allowed to make abstract painting. That's fine. So it's abstract painting by proxy.